good afternoon. It's Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFSArmy, and I'm going to do a super draft video for you guys. The contests have been massive the last week or so. There's been some overlay, and you should really get into sites like this. They're going to have some overlay with big money. On the $4, they got 3K up top. In their big contest, they got 15K up top, and they just haven't been filling. It's a fun place to play. It's all about multipliers, nothing to do. You can play whoever you want to, and I'm going to help you out and talk about a few guys that I like on Super Draft today. And again, if you want projections, we have projections at DFSArmy. If you head on over there and use promo code CashKeg, save yourself 10% and get those projections. Also, if you don't have a Super Draft account, want to check it out, use code ARMY and then head on over and I'll give you some plays and hopefully win you some money. So if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let's keep crushing, man. Let's see what we got today. The website here, I'm going to just kind of walk through some plays that I like and talk about them. Again, it's all about the multiplier. It's all about, what are they going to score when it comes to their points. So it's not all about just raw points. It's that multiplier. You're going to want to look for guys here. I always start at center when I build lineups because there's only one of them. Again, we have some plays that are both forward and center eligible. I'm going to talk about the center guys here just for the center position that I like. With no Drummond, man, with Drummond being out, Jared Allen at 1.5x multiplier is just a no-brainer here. Even going up against Golden State, they don't have their bigs. They got no bigs. Looney and Wiseman are both out. He should play big minutes here. They really only have him and Allen. I'm sorry, JaVale McGee. And I like playing JaVale McGee as well, but he is power forward eligible, so we can slide him in there as well. Not sure how many minutes McGee would get, but he's going to play those backup center minutes. And that guy's been damn near a 2 fantasy point per minute player, so we could definitely look at him. But in the center position, 1.5x is just, just a high number for Allen. And if he puts up a 50 burger, man, you're sitting pretty at 75 fantasy points here. But I think he's going to put up at least a floor of 30 fantasy points with a ceiling of 50 or even more. We've seen 60 out of him before. So really love Jared Allen here. That's the guy I would anchor my lineups with. Joel Embiid is questionable. If he plays if he ends up playing, he's 1.15. I don't really like that multiplier. He'd have to get me at least 50 fantasy points. Going up against Gobert, I think it's possible. He's been 1.48 fantasy points per minute. I think you can look at him, but not a guy that I'm like building my lineups around. I just love the upside for Allen way more to play much Embiid here. Another guy that's center eligible only, we could look at maybe a little Clint Capella. He's at 1.25x, but the minutes have been down, which I don't really like. Collins' minutes have been up, so I think I'm just going to stick with playing Allen. I might, if I was going to play 150, I might even lock button that play in. That's just a high number multiplier when these, information came out and we didn't know that Drummond was going to sit. Over at the forward position here, like I said, there's a bunch of plays that are both forward and center eligible as well. One of them is Nerlens Noel. He is a 1.8x multiplier here. We don't have any Mitch Rob here. Mitchell Robinson is out with a broken hand, so he's going to play more minutes. Played 32 minutes in that first game in the starting lineup. We could probably see something similar to that. Maybe Tibbs decides to play Taj Gibson a little bit more, but I still think we're going to see a good chunk of Noel here. They're going to need their size against their bigs and Collins and Capella. So 1.8x, if he gets you 30 fantasy points, you're sitting real pretty with him, and there's upside for that. So we'll slide him into this as well. So really like Nerlens Noel, and I like you can play him at the forward position. Another guy we can kind of look at here is Draymond Green. Again, I mentioned this, they don't have their bigs. So we're going to look at guys like Draymond, who's probable here at 1.55x multiplier. He has triple-double upside. Should be able to do whatever he wants against Cleveland here. And so, if the game stays close, he could crush this. But it's still a good multiplier regardless. If he only plays 30 minutes and it gets you, 35 fantasy points, he get close to that 60 mark. So I do like him as well. Another guy we can look at here is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler 1.3x, especially if the claw is out. They have no Paul George. And if the claw's out, Butler could do whatever he wants against this Clippers team because they won't be the same defensively without him. So make sure you check on that news. But I do love some Jimmy Butler here. And I think he's in play regardless at the 1.3x. We've seen 50-point upside out of him. And if you get that at 1.3x, you'd be sitting nice at around 65 fantasy points, which you love. So a guy that we'll look at. Another guy that I do love a lot that hasn't been real productive, but again, bigs against Brooklyn, Rashawn Holmes, 1.5x. Just big upside here. If the guy gets you, 40 fantasy points, he's going to crush this tag. Someone that I like in tournaments, I think he's probably more of a floor around 30, which still gets you around 50 fantasy points. But I think there's massive upside here. And in tournaments, I do like some Rashawn Holmes. We'll look at him, throwing him in this lineup as well. There's a lot of other guys you can look at here. Maybe you want to look at playing some Ben Simmons if Embiid is out. But again, 1.35x is not that juicy. And then, is that game going to stay super competitive? I worry about that if Embiid is out. So that would be my only cause of concern there. And then get into the paint, and that's, he can't shoot. So he's got to get into the paint, and they don't give up points in the paint very often. So not big into him. Like I said, Nerlens Noel and Holmes just have massive upside at their multipliers, and I really like those guys that we're looking at here. Maybe we'll look at Tobias Harris at 1.45x multiplier. Again, if we didn't see any Joel Embiid, he can hit the 3 in the mid-range, and I do like the upside with him. If he gets you 40 fantasy points at 1.45x, he could be in the optimal as well, and somebody that won't be on him as well. And we could go right down here in the same lineup here and look at Harrison Barnes, 1.5x as well. Similar to Holmes. I think Holmes got bigger upside, but we've seen good games out of Harrison Barnes before. And a 1.5x, another tournament option, just because it's a great game environment for these guys, and someone that we should definitely be looking at. So definitely a guy to look at. Maybe one other guy we can look at is John Collins. Minutes have been trending up with him. 1.45x multiplier going against the Knicks. No problem playing him. Again, there's 40-plus point upside as well, and that's what you're looking for. These guys that can get you 40 fantasy points that are close to a 1.5x multiplier, then you're talking towards your 60, which you're trying to get here, those 60 fantasy points. So a guy that I like as well. So between him and Draymond Green, I'm kind of flip-flopping on. We'll just leave this space empty here on this lineup, but those are the guys I'm looking at. Or in the guard situation here, one of my favorite plays in the guards, actually Sweet Lou Williams, man. He's been playing extremely well. 1.7x multiplier here, but Paul George has been out. He's been picking up the scoring load a little bit. Kawhi's questionable. If Kawhi sits, man, he could put up a monster game. But just even Cavaliers put up 48 fantasy points, 33, 43, 40 over his last 4. You got to love that number. And again, if Kawhi's out, man, I almost lock button Lou Williams in here and play him about every lineup, because if he puts up 40 at 1.7x, I'm sorry, he's going to be in that winning lineup. So a guy that you should definitely look at. Another guy we could look at here is Donovan Mitchell. Again, no Mike Conley. So we're going to see quite a few, points be scored here for Mitchell. And, the assist numbers are going to be up. It's going to be Ingles, Clarkson, Mitchell. Those guys are going to be running the ball a lot, have the ball in their hands a lot. And if it's a competitive game, he could crush this 1.4x multiplier. I kind of feel like he has a 35 to 40 point floor, and at 1.4x it's just too high. You got to look at playing him. So I'm going to slide him in this lineup as well. A couple other guys we can look at here. With no Durant, I think what you're doing is you're looking at one of Harden or Irving. I lean Irving a little bit because it's the 1.2x multiplier. James Harden's at 1.05. Both are squarely in play because Harden can put up 65 real life points and he could be an optimal. So a guy that we can look at. But Kyrie Irving, a 1.2x, he still has 50, 60 point upside as well. And you just kind of get a little bit more multiplier here. So I don't mind him. But both of them are in play. I don't mind playing either one of them. Maybe you make 2 lineups, put one with Irving, and the next one you put with Harden. I like to do things like that when I'm building lineups. And then we can look at the Cleveland guys a little bit. I did mention, with Drummond out, Garland at 1.65x going against Golden State. He can get you there as well. Again, I'm looking for these guys that have a shot at getting me 35, 40 fantasy points. And guys with multipliers this high, they would just crush those tags with the multiplier. So I don't mind him. Another guy we can look at is Sexton, 1.5x. Again, they're going to have to score, and these guards might do a little bit more. I still lean the bigs. I still want Allen. I'm still looking at playing McGee. I didn't talk about McGee down at the forwards. We'll look at him real quick. He's the kind of guy that he's going to play backup center minutes here, right? And 1.9x for McGee down here at the forwards. He could absolutely crush this. We've seen this. He's playing his old team in Golden State. If he gets even 20 minutes, this guy can put up 40 fantasy points and almost 1.9x. that would be massive. He could put almost an 80 burger up. So a guy that you should consider with no Drummond. And I don't mind running McGee and Allen together. I think if they're multipliers, they could both be in the winning lineup. And someone that you should really consider when building your lineups. And I forgot him at the forward position. So don't forget about JaVale McGee at 1.9x. Great forward play. But again, back to the guards. Both those Cleveland guys are definitely in play at their multiplier levels. Another guy we could look at going on the other side in the Brooklyn game is Halliburton, 1.6x multiplier. If Bagley's out, we could see him start. They don't play very big. He's got the ball in his hands a lot. We've seen some, pretty decent games out of him. And if he gets you 35 fantasy points, that's a pretty good tag on him. He'll be up into the 50s. So a guy that I'll look at. And then we could go even to De'Aaron Fox, 1.2x. I lean more Irving than Fox. I think there's more upside there. But that also tells you that a lot of the public's going to tell you the same thing. And we've seen some monster 60, 70 point games out of Fox. And they're games like this, the environments like this, I like to take him in. So a guy that's not going to be really highly owned because his multiplier is very similar to Kyrie's. And that would get you some lower ownership. And you'd hope Fox has one of his monster games. So maybe you want to play one of him. And if you do play one of him, he has a monster game. I probably would bring it back with one of Harden or Kyrie Irving for sure. That's where I'm kind of looking at things. I think one more guy you could look at, again, Jordan Clarkson at 1.6x multiplier. Same kind of thing with Donovan Mitchell, no Conley. He has the ability to score 40 fantasy points very easily if his shots fall in. So I don't mind playing some Clarkson at 1.6x. I think that's a good multiplier. We could look there as well. There's lots of ways to go. Again, look for these multipliers that are in this range of, 1.4 to 1.7x. I think we have some monster potential out of some guys with some injury news. And as the news falls, again, head on over there to DFSArmy and make sure you check out the projections as they update. They update live as I update our model. So those projections will constantly be updated in real time. So head on over there and sign up. Use promo code CashCake. Save yourself some money. And again, if you like this video, want to see more Super Draft videos, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I can help you keep winning some money here. And with that, I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you on the flip side. Deuces.